school bus that vanished. A journey full of children that never reached its destination. If you are new here and you crave more stories of true crime, chilling mysteries, and cases, subscribe to this channel. You are in the right place. They called it a normal morning. The kind of morning where life runs on autopilot, parents rushing to work, kids hurrying with half-zipped backpacks, the familiar sound of a yellow school bus rumbling down the street, a symbol of routine, of safety, of innocence. But on this morning, what began as ordinary would turn into one of the most haunting mysteries ever recorded. Because this bus never made it. A school bus filled with children. Dozens of young lives, full of laughter, chatter, and dreams. But somewhere along the route to school, the journey stopped. The bus never reached its destination. And what happened in those missing minutes has remained a question that chills to this day. The morning routine. The bus had started its usual route, stopping at familiar corners where parents waved goodbye. Some waved distractedly, already turning back toward their homes. Others lingered a moment longer, watching as the bus carried away their world. For them, it was just another morning, another ride, another safe trip. Except this trip wasn't safe. Somewhere between the last pickup and the school gates, the bus disappeared. It didn't crash. It wasn't found on the side of the road. There were no screams heard, no smoke, no chaos on the highway. Instead, it simply vanished. The last sighting. Witnesses later reported seeing the bus making its way through the neighborhood. One neighbor recalled the faint echo of children singing along to a song on the radio. Another said they saw the driver glance in the mirror, keeping a careful watch over his young passengers. Then nothing. That was the last time anyone saw the school bus. Within minutes, panic would begin to spread like wildfire. The call that changed everything. At the school, teachers began to notice the absence. Rows of empty desks, names unanswered during roll call. One by one, parents began phoning in. My child left for school this morning, but they're not there. Where's the bus? The school assumed a delay, a mechanical issue, maybe a flat tire. But as the clock ticked forward, the truth sank in. The bus wasn't delayed. It was gone. The call went out. Authorities were alerted. What began as confusion turned into the opening moments of a nightmare. The search begins. Police and emergency responders fanned out across the city. They retraced the route street by street, corner by corner. They checked ditches, back roads, and wooded areas. Parents gathered at the school, their faces pale, their voices trembling. Where is my child? Hours passed, and then days, but the bus never appeared. Not a wheel, not a seatbelt, not a trace. The bus had seemingly vanished into thin air. A growing fear. Rumors began to spread. Some whispered of an accident covered up by authorities. Others spoke of kidnappers. Some even feared something darker, something unspeakable. The media swarmed in, headlines screaming across front pages. School bus vanishes without a trace. The story captured not just the town, but the world. Because if an entire bus could disappear, what else could happen? The family's anguish. At home, parents clung to hope. Some left the porch lights on, waiting for the sound of their child's footsteps. Others gathered in churches, praying for answers, praying for a miracle. Every knock at the door made hearts race. Was it news? Was it their child coming home? But the knock never brought good news. Only silence, only waiting, theories and suspicions. With no wreckage, no bodies, and no explanation, theories flourished. Some investigators believed the bus had been hijacked. Others suspected foul play within the community. Someone who knew the route, someone who had planned this. There were whispers of a cover-up, theories of organized crime, even speculation of a driver gone rogue. But no theory ever matched the chilling truth. The bus was gone, and so were the children. A town changed forever. Life in the town never went back to normal. The sound of a school bus engine, once comforting, now sent shivers through parents' spines. The empty chairs in classrooms became daily reminders of the missing. Birthdays passed, holidays came and went, but the silence remained. The town became haunted, not by ghosts, but by the unanswered question that loomed over every street, every family, every heart. What happened to the school bus full of children? This was not just a disappearance. It was a vanishing act that defied logic, left families broken, and created a mystery that has remained unsolved for decades. And as investigators dug deeper, the theories only grew stranger. Because what they uncovered wasn't just about a missing bus. It was about fear, about secrets, and about a truth that some believe was never meant to be found. Backhand index pointing right, stay with us as we dive deeper into the chilling details of this case. Backhand index pointing right, share your theories in the comments. What do you think happened on that final ride? Backhand index pointing right, and don't forget to subscribe, because the next chapter of the story will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew. The search for the missing school bus had turned into one of the largest manhunts the region had ever seen. Authorities brought in helicopters, bloodhounds, and search teams. They scoured rivers, fields, forests, and highways. Roadblocks were set up, drivers questioned, and tips flooded in. But for every lead, there was nothing to be found. No broken glass, no tire tracks leading into the woods, no fragments of metal or twisted wreckage. The bus hadn't simply disappeared, it had been swallowed by the earth. And yet someone, somewhere, knew the truth. The investigators' puzzle. Detectives began breaking down the case piece by piece. They studied the driver's history, the exact timing of each pickup, and the last eyewitness accounts. The driver, a quiet man in his 50s, had no criminal record. Parents described him as reliable, polite, and protective of the children he transported. But investigators weren't ready to rule him out. Was he a hidden suspect or a victim himself? The timeline revealed a haunting detail. The bus vanished within a 15-minute window, a small slice of time that forever altered dozens of families. Theories that haunted the town. With no answers, the case became a breeding ground for theories. 1. The hijacking theory. Some believed the bus was hijacked by an organized group. Perhaps the children were taken for ransom or for motives far darker. But no ransom note ever came. No demands were made. If this was a kidnapping, why was there silence? 2. The accident cover-up. Others believe the bus may have plunged into a quarry, a ravine, or even been buried under a collapsed road. But with helicopters circling above and dive teams searching waterways, nothing was found. If it was an accident, why wasn't there a single trace? 3. The driver's secret. Whispers spread about the bus driver himself. Some claimed he was living a double life. Others suggested he was pressured or forced into an unspeakable act. Could the man trusted with children every morning have driven them straight into the unknown? 4. The community's dark secret. A darker theory whispered in town meetings and late-night conversations suggested the involvement of someone in power. Someone with influence, capable of orchestrating a disappearance and silencing the truth. But was this paranoia or reality? Families on the edge. As weeks turned into months, families spiraled into despair. Parents refused to accept the bus had simply disappeared. They demanded answers, protested at City Hall, and held vigils with candles glowing deep into the night. Some mothers admitted they still set a place at the dinner table for their missing child. Some fathers confessed they spent every night driving the bus route, hoping they'd spot something overlooked. The absence wasn't just physical. It was a wound that cut into the soul of the entire town. A lead emerges. Months later, a possible lead jolted investigators back into action. A farmer, working a field miles away from the last known route, claimed he'd seen a large yellow vehicle moving slowly across a back road the morning of the disappearance. The description fit, but when officers searched the area, the trail went cold. Tire marks faded into dirt, and the lead, like all the others, dissolved into nothing. Media frenzy. The story caught national and then international headlines. Reporters flocked to the town, cameras flashing, microphones in faces. The words, "the vanished school bus," plastered newspapers. For some families, the coverage was a lifeline. For others, it was salt in the wound. Every broadcast reminded them of the emptiness in their homes. And yet, the attention pressured law enforcement. This wasn't just a local mystery anymore. It was a global one. Strange parallels. Researchers began digging into history, uncovering chilling parallels. Across the world, there were rare but eerie cases of vehicles. Trains, buses, even entire groups, vanishing without explanation. One particularly haunting case involved another school bus disappearance decades earlier in a different country. That bus was later found submerged in a river, but with far fewer answers than closure. Was history repeating itself? Or was this something more sinister? Something engineered? Whispers of conspiracy. As years passed without answers, conspiracy theories exploded. Some claimed the bus had been taken for experiments, that it had been hidden by powerful figures, or that it had crossed into some place beyond understanding. Others, more grounded, suspected human trafficking rings. They pointed to similar disappearances, unsolved abductions, and the chilling possibility that the children were never meant to be found. But the truth? It remained buried. The emotional toll. The teachers at the school struggled to carry on. Every morning, they faced rows of empty desks. Birthday cards once taped to lockers remained untouched, gathering dust. Friends of the missing children grew up, but the memories of that morning never faded. A generation carried scars from a day that had stolen their innocence. And for the parents, life froze. Some marriages fractured under the weight of grief. Others clung tighter, bound by a shared wound. Entire families were shaped, not by memories of childhood joy, but by a haunting absence. Even decades later, the case remained open. The bus was never recovered. The children never returned. Parents became grandparents, carrying photographs of children who never grew older. Detectives retired, their files heavy with dead ends and unanswered questions. And yet, the case refused to die. Every anniversary of the disappearance, the town still gathered. They lit candles, they spoke the children's names. They asked the same question. Where are they? The legacy of fear. The disappearance became more than just a mystery. It became a warning. Parents across the country clutched their children tighter when they boarded buses. Teachers counted attendance with heavier hearts. Communities whispered about safety, about trust, about how quickly the unthinkable could become reality. The story of the missing school bus was no longer just a tragedy. It was a ghost that haunted generations. The bus never arrived. The children never came home. And the world was left with a void. A story without an ending. A question without an answer. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most chilling part of all. Because somewhere out there, beyond the headlines, beyond the theories, beyond the years of silence, the truth waits. Hidden, buried, perhaps never to be known. But one thing is certain. This was no ordinary disappearance. This was a vanishing that rewrote the very meaning of fear. Backhand index pointing right, share your theories in the comments below. What do you believe happened to the missing school bus? Backhand index pointing right, subscribe now if you crave more stories of true crime, chilling mysteries, and cases that refuse to stay buried. Backhand index pointing right, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell, because the next mystery might be darker than you imagine.